What's up, guys? It's Matt here with Tanks Lawn Maintenance. It is currently 1:31 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, July the 16th, 2025 year of our Lord. And I just finished this property. I'm headed to my next one. I've got two more on the list. I think it's 9 on the list today. I don't know. Guys, I had a customer text me this morning and said that they were extremely unhappy with the service from Monday. They said the grass is still tall. It's higher in some places, higher in more places than it is others, and the bushes have not been trimmed. Okay. I texted her back. Oh, and she also, and without even giving me a chance to respond, she also said the invoice, or her words were, the transaction will not be completed until this is corrected. I texted her back and said, normally when somebody says something like that, if somebody's unhappy with something, I'll go by there and look at it. And if it's something that is my fault, I'll take care of it, man. But if it's something that there's nothing I can do about it, I'll try to make the customer happy. If it's a little bit of scope creep, something ain't gonna take me no more than 2 or 3 minutes, yeah, I'll knock it out just to keep the customer happy, and then I'll explain to them like, hey, this isn't part of the agreement. I'll do it this time, but next time it's gonna be extra. Stuff like that. But when you come at me with a scorched earth approach like that, I don't care. You can fire me, you can do whatever you want to do. I ain't got no sympathy for you. I'm not gonna try to help you at all. And I read that text message, and I'm a little mellowed out today. I took some medicine this morning, took a Lexapro this morning because I've been dealing with a lot of stress here lately. And so I'm a little mellowed out. Normally I would have flew off the handle. I would have flew off the handle immediately, especially this year, the rate things are going this year. But I just simply texted her back and told her, I said, listen, and also the person that texted me was a roommate of the customer that I deal with. And the person that I deal with was in the text. It was a group text that the roommate had started. I don't like group text to begin with. That's mistake number one right there. But I just simply texted her back. I said, listen, the agreement that you and I had, or that you and your roommate had, was that the bushes would be trimmed once a month. I said they're not to be trimmed every single time I come out. That is the agreement that we had. Now I said your bushes were trimmed the last time I was there. And I said I simply just don't have time to trim them every single time I come out, for one, and for two, you're only paying for them to be trimmed once a month. And if I trim them right now, or if I trimmed them this week, they would have been overgrown by the time the end of the month rolled around. Well, I also said the uneven spots in your grass. I said your grass is uneven because your dirt is uneven. The ground is uneven. I said you have a lot of imperfections in your lawn. I said there's no way around it. I said it looks the same way that it does every single time I leave the property. I said I can't do anything about that. I said the only thing that can be done to fix that is to get some sand or some dirt and to try to level out the yard. I said preferably sand would be better. Aerate it and then fill it in with sand and level it out the best you can. I said, but as far as your yard being uneven, that's the reason it's like that. And I said, and also I mowed your grass twice Monday with I didn't say the walker, but that's what I mowed it with. I mowed it twice with the walker, double mowed it, because of the excessive growth. I mean, grass is growing rapidly right now. It needs to be cut most Bermuda lawns need to be mowed once a week right now, but the reality is people just can't afford weekly service around here. So, and then she responded and said, I find it hard to believe that you mowed it twice when every time you're here for an hour. This time you were only here for 30 minutes. And I told her, I said, I've only been there for an hour one time. I said, I'm normally done in about 15 or 20 minutes at your house. I said, it took me 30 minutes this time, a little less than 30 minutes this time, because the grass was overgrown and I double mowed it. I said, I typically don't double mow it. I said, but I did this time because the mower just didn't pick everything up on the first go around, so I went over it again. And then she said, we do have a Ring doorbell camera, mind you. And I said, regardless of a doorbell or time I spent on the property or the height of your grass, I mowed your grass twice. And I said, it's a little bit higher because it's the heat of the summer. And I always do that. I lift my deck up a little bit to keep your yard from getting burnt out because of the summer heat. I said, that is protocol in this area. I can't speak for all of you guys out here in other parts of the country, but in my area, we normally raise the deck about a ½ inch sometime at the end of June or the beginning of July to try to cut out burnout. You get what I'm saying? It provides a little more shade for the ground, and it keeps the lawn, it helps the lawn retain moisture in the ground, and it prevents it. It doesn't 100% prevent it, but it does help with burnout. And after I told her that, I said, and by the way, if that invoice isn't paid, it'll be turned over to collections. It wasn't even 5 seconds later, they got on that invoice and paid that joker and left me a $2.75 tip. And then she texted back in the group and said, the invoice is paid, but take us off of your schedule. We're no longer going to use your services. I said, sounds good to me, and blocked both of their numbers. And I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with that, but I'm not going to turn a customer over to collections for $200. It's a monthly payer. I'm not turning anybody over to collections for $200. I'm just simply not going to do it. But at the same time, if someone threatens you with not paying your invoice, or tells you that they're not satisfied with the service and they're not going to pay you, and they're going to use that money to pay somebody else, or they're not going to pay you until you correct it or whatever, do everything you can to get your money, guys. Don't accept that. Threaten them back. If somebody threatens you, threaten them back. Tell them, say, I'll turn you over to collections. I hate to do that for $200, but if you think I won't, you're crazy as hell. And I've had to do that twice. And this is the second time. Every single time I've done it, it has worked for me. And it's something that I want to say it was Sean Spencer on Spencer's Lawn Care. I think it was him that said it. I could be mistaken. So Spencer, if you see this and it wasn't you that said it, I'm sorry, man. But I can't remember who it was. It was several years ago that I heard somebody say it. 9 times out of 10, if you threaten somebody with collections, they are more worried about their credit than what they are their money. Because the world we live in, everybody buys stuff on credit now. Nobody pays cash for anything. So if you threaten people's credit, and turning somebody over to collections will ding their credit. It'll mess your credit up. And I know that from experience. I've been turned over to collections when I was a younger man for just being stupid, And me being stupid. Nobody's fault but my own. And so I know from experience you will get dinged on your credit score. And that kind of hits home with people, man. People don't like for their credit to get messed up, especially over something as little as $200. So even whether you drop the customer or not, if they threaten you with no payment, threaten them with collections. Do what you got to do to get your money. 9 times out of 10, they're going to pay that invoice when you threaten them. Yeah, I'm not going to threaten nobody, or I'm not going to take nobody to court, and I'm not going to turn anybody over to collections. I'm not. I've never done it before, and I know people that have, and they have all told me that it's more trouble than what it's worth, and it's really not even worth it. So just a thought, guys. If somebody threatens you with that, you have options, man. You have ammo in your gun. So fire back at them, man. You don't have to settle with that. You don't have to take that off of nobody. It's 100 degrees out here. We work extremely hard, and hope you're doing a good job, man. And another thing too, before you do that, you need to think about this. Are you fulfilling your end of the bargain or the agreement? Are you taking care of the customer like you're supposed to be? Are you doing a good job? And are you doing everything on time and on schedule? If so, by all means, you have every right to turn somebody over to collections. But if you turn somebody over to collections, you better make sure that all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted, because it can wind up pretty bad for you if you don't. But, and all you customers out there, if anybody sees this, man, and you're dealing with a service provider, whether you're happy with the service provider or not, you are still obligated to pay that service provider, no matter what it is, whether it's a lawn care provider, landscaper, painter, plumber, whatever it may be. It's just like cable and internet and phone bill. You've got to pay it, guys. You're obligated to. If the man came out, did the work, did what he said he was going to do, if you don't like if you're not satisfied with it, it is what it is, man. You still got to pay. You ain't got to leave him a 5-star review. You ain't got to leave him a tip or anything like that. But you're obligated to pay that invoice. But anyways, guys, I'm going to hop off here. I hope y'all got something out of this. If you did, let me know in the comments down below. If not, that's cool too, man. But look, I'll catch y'all on the next video. And until then, y'all keep cutting that grass and keep making that money. Holler at y'all. Bye.